welcome to the 7th edition of the Madaxeman.com podcast, in which the usual gang reconvene for their usual rambling discussion. This week we talk about colours of horses, airbrushing instead of painting properly, gnomes in combat, whether Austrians are just dirty or whether they actually have grey uniforms, whether samurai armies can ever be finished, if you're as rich as Croeseus, why would you choose a Lydian army, and of course Andy's quiz comes back, this time for the first time with a sort of very strange Terry Wogan crossover vibe to it. Enjoy the podcast this week. Okay, here we go with yet another week. I think this is week 7 of the lockdown podcast. We've got all 7 little windows here up on screen, or actually no, it's 6. I'm double counting myself. That's obviously gone wrong. That could have spooked somebody, unless we've got somebody Zoom hacked us in, which is always possible. Again, but I guess they'd be somewhat disappointed, really. Nothing too exciting going on here. So yeah, we've got the regular gang together where we've almost got a structure this week, which is not bad after probably about 9 hours of wittering on. We've got a theory, and we're going to stick to the usual format, which seems to be working. People do seem to be listening to us again, and we're going to go round the windows. And I'm going to start this time with Simon. What's been on your painting table this week? Tell us all about it.
I've been extremely slack, lazy, and irresponsible. All I've managed to do is base coat my 50 mil chariots.
What about painting?
Yeah, thank you from the peanut gallery. No, so I haven't actually managed to complete anything this week. So I've just got the base colours on the chariots, and that's it.
Oh wow! Okay, so it's just been. And did you manage to do that outside, or was that like a hand painted undercoat thing?
All hand painted. So just getting the base reds and blues and blacks onto them. I've managed to get on the 2 generals. They've got these nice big umbrellas. So I've had fun trying to do some Cantonese symbols or various other things on the top of the umbrella. So they look quite good.
Actually, you're now admitting you've done more than just undercoating. You've done some hand drawn stuff. Yeah. Okay,
but they're not based, assembled, or finished. So I failed what I was trying to achieve for this week.
All right. So, I think that probably takes us to something maybe we'll do in another few weeks, is about undercoating and painting techniques. But you're undercoating in a range of different primary colours.
Yeah. So I usually undercoat base white. I use like the Army Painter spray paint, the matte white paint, I think it is, and then I just build up the colours from there. Some people would do this black idea. It never works for me, so I just go for white, and then I use the Army Painter, the dip stuff to get into the cracks and all that, and that meets I can paint to the 3-foot rule.
Okay, all right. So a fairly quiet week for you then. So if I go around then in terms of World of Excitement, Mr. Dave, tell us about what you and the painting bunker and World of Samurai, what's interrupted your machine-like process to chew through thousands of samurai?
Sean, it's dull, and the samurai continue as nonsense. The cavalry are finished, 5 bases of cavalry.
Have you done them all kind of mixed up, or are there definite lancers and definite bowmen there, or how have you differentiated the good ones from the average ones?
What I've done is, so I've got 1 base which are in red.
Ta-da! Yep.
And they're Yamaguchi somebody or other, and he's got his correct back banners on it. And so there was a red regiments, they were called later. So that's 1 base. Then there's a yellow base with yellow back banners.
So you got Manu fans, you got Leeds fans.
Yeah, and then I've got 2 which are kind of mixed up. So I think what I can do is I can have a general for 1 base if I need it, and I can have a couple of elites which are easily recognisable and a couple of non-elites if that's the way I want to go. So there's options to use them in either way.
Yeah, and that's one of the trickiest things, though, isn't it? Trying to work out when you're painting a limited number how you give yourself the options for elites and ordinaries and mediums and all that nonsense. Simon, you're shaking your head. Does that mean you just paint like a shed load of them?
Yeah. Because sometimes you want to have a 200-point army, sometimes you want to have a 300-point, and say, "Oh bugger, I just buy them all."
Just buy them all.
Sometimes you want to fog our army.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's nice to be able to upscale when you need to, because it's all about your elasticity and all that.
Or
Samurai.
that liberal through. Or that
Samurai elasticity then. Okay. All right. That's it. So is it just been Samurai? What have you actually? What's the scores on the doors for this week then, Dave?
So 3 cavalry, undercoated 2 lots of bowmen, another couple of generals. Pretty lazy.
How many actual figures of samurai are you going to be painting?
So I'm going to have 8 bases of samurai.
No. That's bases. How many figures?
8 figures. They're all 6 to a base. So there's going to. Oh, I'll tell you. Hold on. There's going to be 3.
He's got to take his shoes off to count that high.
12.
Yeah. I just want to be truly horrified.
There's 21 bases of infantry times 6, so 60.
Wow, 120.
He only have an hour.
Wow, 120 samurai.
No, that's just the infantry.
That's just the
I
infantry.
think you missed that bit. That's just the infantry. So how many cavalry as well?
What about the
15 cavalry. That's all I need.
15
What,
figures?
15 bases of cavalry?
15 cavalry. 15. 5 bases of 3.
Actually, do you have, joking apart, do you have the light horse
No,
for that?
I haven't bothered.
Because I think I might have some spare. I got persuaded to buy some from
Dave, are you doing the monks as well?
The monks are in the box. They're still to be done.
They're not included in the 128.
I'll tell you my excuse for slowing down is I ordered some more back banners from Fighting 15s because they're selling them off cheap. That's my excuse.
And the monk on the turtle?
He's sold out. Master Ekuso by GCT. I looked at him a week ago, and then in the time that I was looking, he's sold out.
I do want some of the
podcast. Maybe that was the pun we gave him. That
there's no do or do not.
For you. Alternative for you. Take a look at Bad Squiddo Games. Because they've got a dog in samurai armour.
Okay.
I think is that a realistic female dog, or is it just a dog?
No idea what gender the dog is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I guess
There's
the
also
armor
a cat.
Okay.
I've got those.
I've seen them before, actually.
So have I.
Okay. So the armor hides a lot of things then, certainly in samurai dogs. Yeah.
Anyway, but then this morning I spent about 40 minutes on the phone with Richard Case discussing Assyrian armies and quite what you need in terms of everything, having all the options. So I'm creating a shopping list of Assyrians for, I think, Essex, but...
People are allies with 4 chariots.
No, I think it's be 8 chariots, maybe 10 chariots.
Excellent.
All right,
you've been shopping with Simon again. I'll have one of everything. Times 10.
Times 10.
Well, it's ability to have.
I've been shopping with you two before. It's like I've gone for 1 pack and come back with 10.
I just think that we're supporting our local industries and looking after all the small traders in our hobby.
No. I look at it as though how you have that little angel and little devil on the shoulder. It's like I go with you two, and I'm not leaning off to the right and go, you want more. You know that bag of miniatures is only going to get lonely. They need another one.
And that's
Simon, let's not introduce him to Mr. Tuffley.
Oh no, that could be a very bad thing. Here, John, here's the credit card. Just we'll go from there.
After this subject, we said we weren't going to spend an hour on painting discussion.
No, fine. So you've planned your next purchase for your next set of painting then.
Well, I've still got a box of Sean's second-hand Ottomans, which that's really my next project.
Okay, so you'd not painted them last week, and you've still not started them this week.
No.
Could you even guess kind of when the samurai's going to peter out? Is that?
I think another week, another 2 weeks of samurai, and they'll be finished.
Okay, all right. So then we'll be having the Ottoman discussion about whether you paint them in uniform or not. Really?
Yeah, and whether I've spent a long time trying to find figures which I like for the Janissaries, and I think the Kurasanian one's the best I've seen.
Yeah, you've got there then. Okay, good. And what's the beer of today?
Same as always, the Hefenstefener.
The Hefenstefener. Okay, good. All right. Well, Peter, you I think before we did the kind of the green room chat, you were threatening to wave some Austrians at us.
I have Austrians.
You have Austrians.
Nearly 72 of them.
Wow, and that's AB figures. So that's basically a small house in terms of value, is it? Or
yeah, well, yes. You know, it's like it's either this or a BMW. You know.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of AB figures, and I'm actually been motoring through them. I enjoyed the nice, relaxing weather and just sat out in the garden, just carried on painting, and it's oddly therapeutic. You were saying about the elite figures and everything else. So with these Napoleonics, I'm finding like different cuffs are different elites and everything else. So the problem is with the Austrians that you've got to then double them up, because in the rule set that they go large units after a certain period. So you have to paint X amount extra. So either I've got 8 normal units or 6 large units, but then you have to do the optional extras.
And a large unit is 6 bases and a normal unit is 4, I think. Is that roughly?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you can't paint them as in just large bases, because you've got to do the variations for the formations and stuff.
And did you find, did you look at those kind of uniforms and cuff colours? Did you actually have a book, or was it just an internet Google search? And
I actually went to Austria and went into the military museum, and I've actually got pictures of the Austrian uniform that was worn at the time from the guys that was actually there. So
well, that's me woefully inadequate with my story about my French next week, then, isn't it?
You see, I just thought I'd go one step beyond and really totally and utterly geek out. And we called it an anniversary trip, but I got to see great museums in both Hungary and Austria. So hence I'm doing the Austro-Hungarian Army.
And your wife went to the jewelry store.
Yeah,
that could be. So, could you, if you saw the actual original uniforms in the museum, could you tell from those what particular one of the army painter washes they used to get the effect on the uniforms?
Well, funnily enough, yes, it was the. That's why I'm actually sad as it is. I'm now going over the cross bracing thing again with a little bit extra white, because basically they blancoed up the white straps, so the rest of the uniform looked a bit sort of like, well, a bit careworn and everything else, but they'd blanco up the leather straps, the actual strapping, so that actually stood out a little bit more when you actually see on the pictures and see in the museum. That's
exactly what I did with my 10mm French as well, and I'm looking back at them now thinking, can I even tell the difference? But is it really visible, or was your ink wash strong enough to?
Well, on the other ones, which are downstairs, the ink wash. I tried out the 2 different ones after a conversation last week. So I tried the acrylic one on the Croeseus, and the vote from the house, because I can't get anybody else's view, because you're not allowed around here at the moment. Is that they actually prefer the stuff from the tin as opposed to the acrylic. The acrylic doesn't have the same depth. It's very much a lighter sort of view across it. But, going back to Simon's 3-foot rule, the tin one with the glossiness, it protects it a little bit more, but gives it that little bit of extra oomph just to make things stand out.
That's an interesting thought, because I guess the tinned one is actually quite a viscous, sort of thick, even if you're using it as a wash or a dip, well, not a dip, because I don't think anyone uses it as actually a dip, but if you're brushing it on, it is still quite a thick layer. So maybe the pigment settles within the clear varnish, whereas on the ones out of the little dropper, it is ink and it's straight onto the figure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the problem is I tried the whole watering it down and moving it across, and by the time I finished, it just looked as though I'd just painted with some dodgy white sort of thing, as opposed to actually having any depth to it. So I'm going back to the tin. I'm going to use that. what I'm very careful of is I paint over it and then make sure there's nothing collecting too much in certain stupid places, as you do when you're carrying a shield and stuff like that, and collects around the bottom of the shield and stuff. So I'm trying to be more careful on that. But basically what I'm going to do is take some of the ideas that you guys were saying about sprucing up the bases and put more emphasis on that next. Because I've seen with these AB figures, because they're so large, it will hold having those tufts on and things like that. So more than the normal 15mm stuff would.
Where they'd kind of disappear into the undergrowth if you do too much. Yeah.
You know, otherwise it looks like pygmies coming out of the jungle. Otherwise.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Okay, good. So has it just been pure Austrians this week, or is there anything else? Are you going to do a motorcyclist?
The motorcyclist is looking awfully drab off at the side, looking very sad and very sort of like pale and just around in his undercoat. Yeah, just not feeling love. Okay. It's just the Austrians and the production line. I feel like I ought to be working in Hong Kong or something at the moment.
Right, you're in a machine. Okay.
This means war.
Well, Tanzin, then, what's your weekly process on the 100? No, not the 100 Years' War. The Wars of the Roses Army, because it was cavalry were on the decks this time, weren't they? Last time.
I've got all the horses painted now. So I'd originally bought, I think it was 1 pack of the Perry Light Cavalry, 2 packs of the mounted men at arms, and so made up all 36 horses, and all 36 are painted.
Okay, wow.
And going to be hopefully starting on the riders tomorrow. So I'll probably start with the northern border, or so the medium cavalry, light cavalry, and then move on. Then do the other side, the heavy cavalry, the knights, and then sort of some mounted figures as commanders.
So what's your horse technique? Once you've assembled them, how do you build up the colours? Because there's a million different ways to do horses. Airbrushing. Ah, okay.
I did that. Tried it out. So I haven't really painted 28mm horses before. Usually 15s. Probably done over 1,000 15mm cavalry, but
yeah, I think we're probably
no samurai yet then.
Yeah,
no samurai.
Yeah.
So black primer. Actually, for the 2 different groups of horses, half of them no barding, half of them with barding. I did different bits, so it was using airbrush, both using airbrush, but for the unarmoured ones, I was going from sort of base colour and highlighting up from that using airbrush. Then found sort of it was far too subtle. The gradation of colour was a bit too subtle.
How do you find using airbrushes? It always fascinates me as something that should be really fun and interesting to use, but I can't be fussed with all the cleaning of it.
Cleaning doesn't take that long normally. If you're using the right pressure and have paint sort of thin properly, it takes a couple of minutes at the end.
Even easier if you outsource it to your children.
I don't have children to outsource it to.
I try.
I was thinking for Pete, it's like Minions.
Yeah, that could be it.
I've tried several times.
The second batch, I decided to try something different and did the sort of zenithal undershading. So over black primer going in for grey at a slight angle, increasing angles up to white to catch the highest bits. And then having the base colour final base colour I wanted thinned down quite heavily. Airbrush that on as a glaze over the black and white, and that came out much better.
Ah, okay. So black undercoat, and then what in my world without an airbrush would be kind of white dry brushing to pick up the highlights. Yeah. But then you can actually do a very thin wash type diluted paint through an airbrush that kind of works like a contrast paint almost to pick out those a glaze or a wash to pick out the highlighty stuff. That's complicated.
So what do you do? So like my sons used to ride horses locally, so I used to base the horses on them. And it's odd with the coats, they sort of pick out certain flecks and everything else. So is that what you do with the airbrush? Sort of like get that sort of like almost like freckled look?
The only way you could do that is to use seriously thick paint and too low a pressure. So
Spatters it.
splatters a bit.
But what I mean is that they're almost like they have that gradient, but it's almost like coming in as patches. It'd be nigh on impossible to paint it in a paint
Yeah,
unless you're absolutely psychotic.
Difficult. It's very difficult to actually get the true effect. Like that, you'd have to do that sort of brush painting, sort of almost stipple techniques to get that sort of effect.
Yeah, I think that's how I've ended up doing most of my grey horses recently, is kind of do a dark, because I haven't got an airbrush and they're only 15mm or 10mm, but I've done them in sort of a dark grey and then done a kind of stipply dry brush with very pale grey and then even a bit of white over the top of it, and you do still get a bit of depth to it. But the other thing I discovered with my 10mm recently was, which I suppose I should have been doing for years, is that thing that horses are darker the lower down the legs they go.
It depends.
Well,
Yeah.
mine are now.
Most horses that would, for the periods we're talking about, Europe, Middle East, are more toward bays, so they do have sort of further east you go, so sort of China, Mongolia, and so on. More it will be duns, but when you've got sort of saddles and other stuff on top, you can't really tell the difference between them, and they will have a dark. So you'll have the brown coat, but the muzzle will be the tips of the ears, tails, and the lower legs will be sort of very dark brown to black.
Plus, it also, since found out, it depends on who and where they're buying it from and their preference.
Yeah.
So like the Austrians, different regiments had buying regimes. So the cuirassiers will have brown ones, because ours didn't care as long as they went fast. And different ones like that, which I've only found out recently. But then you've got the different types of horses. There was I found a great paint on. It was actually from one of the horse catalogue things, and it was saying about all the different colours, about how it blends. Certain horses have certain hair colours and things like that. All get very technical and scared me. Yeah.
That's the Vexilia blog's got all the horse colours.
Yeah.
Okay, Martin's got that as well.
Quick question
Gets
for you.
kind of free. Yeah.
So Tamsin, with your airbrush, do you have a compressor or do you use the cans of compressor? That's what I thought.
Cans, you don't have enough control over the air pressure, and
maybe that's the thing after the Dremel. Once I can just get used to the Dremel staring at me and not being used, I can then start adding an airbrush that can stare at me and be very rarely used as well, potentially.
For a lot of people, particularly if you're in flats, an airbrush is handy for priming.
Yeah. Because it's not
priming and varnishing.
Because you don't get the propellant; it's actually air. It doesn't stink as much, is it? Or
and also better control.
Compressed air doesn't smell. The cans are compressed air. It's just compressed air.
I guess it is.
No actual propellant in there.
Okay.
I used to use a compressor.
They're expensive, and you've got no control over it.
I used to use an airbrush in Australia because it was quite handy. You could get quite nice control, like with the a decent nozzle and all that. You can almost start drawing a line on your hand. So because I used to play 25mm tanks back then, you could actually start doing your own camo painting and all that, and just
MERDC camo.
Yeah, I've painted sort of the
German stuff,
German ambush pattern camo on 15mm.
Wow. Well, that
was
the reason why I was looking at a compressor the first time, and then by the time I was thinking about getting one, I'd already actually painted it.
Right. It was only for 3 tanks. Okay.
Yeah, it was like going, oh well.
So you've just been going back. You've done World of Horses, and you expect to start doing what, Riders next week?
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing snuck into the queue this week. You've stayed with your discipline and focus.
Into the queue, but I'm almost out of the basing gunk I've been using. So, and if I can't get, so I need to go to Poundland to get some more.
Right. Okay. Right. So you're going to have to leave the house. Oh my God.
Can I do the 300mm tubes of acrylic frame sealant?
Sorry, acrylic.
What?
Acrylic frame sealant.
Acrylic frame sealant. Wow.
So
now you're getting technical.
So acrylic cork, like you use put around window frames.
Look, this
same as modelling paste.
This
credit
is
not being
starting to
pasted.
sound like we need a whole separate discussion, maybe next week, on basing techniques. I think really, and so maybe we'll add that to the list of things to do and bring back that.
Yeah, but if I can't get hold of some more of that, I've got enough to do a few bases of cavalry, but might not have enough to do for a whole lot. So
it might be a couple of weeks before they're done.
So it might be an interruption.
Or maybe not. Okay. Right, well, Andy, tell us. No, you finished Vikings last week. I think I've even seen some pictures of them online somewhere.
Yeah, I plonked a picture of them on Facebook. So I'm now on to Saxon Huscarls, and this is what they basically look like. Some of them have got what I would describe as noddy hats, if you look at the strange shape of them.
Okay. That's very good. We can't see that, but I'm sure they're good. I think you've obviously not worked out where the camera is on your iPad. Look, just put it right in front of your nostrils as if we were looking up them. That's where they are. No, that's the angle we've got there. No, okay, got it. Yeah, I see the noddy hats. Yeah, that's it. Fine, we're all good.
I'm doing 24 of them at the moment, trying to make them different colours.
Is that the War and Empire pack of 24 then? Fine.
That's right, yeah. And then after that, I've got 3 lots of feared to paint. 1 armoured and 2 unarmoured. So
this army's creeping towards being finished then?
Yeah, well, I was feeling quite pleased with myself because I actually finished an army. I've only actually ever finished 2 ADLG armies in my life, one being the Normans and the other being the Vikings.
Well, golf clap for Andy.
That's 2 proper things to you're ready to invade Britain in 1066 twice then with that.
Well, they're actually in use. We're doing a campaign.
We'll do the campaign. Well, look, we'll talk about that in a minute then.
This means war.
Look, my week. I don't know if you've seen the post on the blog, but in fact, I wonder if I can screen share just to to talk you guys through it. But so yeah, I had possibly the world's most eclectic week of painting, as I just had stacks and stacks of bits on the side of my painting desk that were just kind of cluttering the place up. And I just really this week I was like, look, I haven't got anything major to do. Let's just clear this stuff out of the way. So in no particular order, I'd got 2 bases of Numidian light cavalry that are really kind of meh. I think they're Bowida ones because I got some different manufacturers to make up a Numidian army for 15 mil for Arts of the Guerre that was really bought because kind of ridiculous really. At BritCon last year, I wanted to buy something from Forged in Battle. That was it. So the only thing I could see that I didn't really have already was some Numidian infantry. So I bought a couple of packs of their Numidian infantry to create a Numidian light medium javelin army, and then picked up a few light horse as well. So I've just got far too many. I think I've used it once.
So
it's not.
I was going to say, have you actually used it?
I played against Gordon with it, and I worked out that there was clearly a better way to do the list than the way I'd done it.
What you mean? You use a different army?
About halfway through the game, yeah, possibly. But I think it needs you to go full on with the solid Roman infantry and not try and do so much clever stuff as I was trying with the Numidians. So then I had a few casualties for sort of 17th century Fogar armies, which I think come with a Blue Moon set. And I just bashed them up. They got some pretty lurid colours.
You like using casualties for markers and that, don't you?
I think it's so much better than just using little markers. I've got some shields. I'm tempted each time I go on eBay and see packs of shields that people are selling. I'm almost tempted to get those, but I've got so many different casualty markers now. I'm starting to get to the point at which I've got unique casualty markers for some of the armies, particularly the biblical ones, where the Assyrians and the Mycenaeans have got really distinctive shields. So I've got casualty markers for them.
So you could almost have like a zombie ADLG army of casualty markers,
yeah, well,
invading people.
Exactly. Well, I think that's going back to Dave Allen's famous painting of when there's a mythical central London folk story of must have been the Derby Worlds kind of 30 years ago. And I think Dave just either didn't get an army finished or couldn't be asked. and I think he used Estonians or something, or Prussians in the snow, and he got figures on the first rank, and then the next 3 ranks of bases he just put little black spots to say that it was the footprints of all the people following behind. Shameful stuff, really, but
The forest people are.
pretty poor.
I like it.
And so I found a couple of little tanks in this world of enormous numbers of tanks that I've got, that I had no idea what they were. They basically look like scorpions with massive heads, not like scorpions, the bug, but Scorpion the tank. And I posted it on Twitter to say, anybody got any clue what these are? And apparently it's a sort of experimental version of the French AMX-13 with an anti-aircraft turret that was used for about 7 years in the 1960s. So I stuck a couple of those on bases and got them in my big 1/300 scale, which meant I then found, well, not small, I guess it's probably about a 30 mil high comedy Japanese robot that I stuck on a base to go with, Simon, we played, I'm trying to think how many years ago, it was that Osprey set, wasn't it?
Yeah, Horizons War,
which was good. So I got some of these sort of anime Gundam kind of mini Gundam.
Yeah.
And this is like a mini Gundam thing, but it's still pretty big compared to 6 mil. I had this other 300th project. This is just such an eclectic mix. An F5.
I think the side of your desk is
it's clearer now.
Renamed as truly random.
It was truly random. It's a lot tidier now. All this stuff's now in boxes. I had an F5 Freedom Fighter that I did in Iranian colours.
The next challenge is, can you make an army out of it?
I've got the Iranians to go with it already. I had another base of 25 mil Huns out of one of those packs of Old Glory stuff where you get about 15 of their cavalry. And the Old Glory 25 mil stuff is really good value. They're really nicely animated, but I just had 3 that hadn't been finished. I think I must have needed some for a competition sometime, and then just never finished these 3.
I think at the bottom of this blog we need a tracker about which one of these will make it to the gaming table first,
if at all. Yeah, if at all.
No, I think what you could do is you could make a feature out of this for this podcast, Tim. What we have every week, you know the TV program Ready Steady Cook. We do Ready Steady. Just put some figures together and say, right, make an army out of this.
Yeah, I think this would be beyond anybody, really. This would be Ready Steady Hurl, I think.
I think we'd have to start with manga and end with manga.
Start with manga and end with manga. Yeah.
But Tim, for a while, you and I had this competition of which of us could design the army with what have we painted up recently,
this week,
or what did you randomly find in your cupboard that hasn't seen light of day in the last 20 years?
Yep.
And some of the armies that were coming out, it's like, why?
Oh, there's some all sorts of mad stuff, isn't there? Then I finished off one of those chariots, which is an Essex one, because I had 3 of these chariots, and all of the allies that you get with biblical armies seem to need 4 or something. So I was just 1 short, and all my other chariots don't look like this at all. So I bought an extra one. I'd got some Perry's 28s that I bought a couple of odd sprues off eBay because it's so easy to, and I needed some sort of spearmen. Well, I don't need spearmen really. I don't need the troops at all. But I wanted some spearmen for my medieval armies because the figures I was using as spearmen clearly had halberds, and that was not really working. So there's just some sort of random kit-bashed Perry stuff with arms from their Roman range to add spears to people who actually would be carrying crossbows and two-handed, pole arms and things. So if you don't look too closely, I've kind of filled in the arms, and they've got slightly odd sort of uniforms, really. It's a real eclectic mix of people. I had a really nice sort of Norman general who just needed finishing off basing. And then the real pay dirt was my collection of 28 mil gnomes, garden
Look
gnomes.
At them. They are brilliant.
Just fabulous.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. These are the ones that came back from Cold Wars in February, just before lockdown, that Hazelwood twisted my arm to buy. And I think last week we've got Napoleon gnome out there, but I did the Swiss one, which is the proper gnome throwing a block of cheese. I did Kaiser gnome.
Has he even got a peg on his nose?
No, he's just got a very big nose. He's that little figure relative to the size of him.
He's got a peg on his nose.
He's got a peg on his nose.
He doesn't like the smell of the cheese that he's throwing.
Oh, sorry. No, the Swiss one. I think,
one
yes.
throwing the cheese. Yeah.
Oh, it's a peg, isn't it? Brilliant. I'm going to have to go back and repaint that because I was thinking it was like a metal nose guard.
I might have did a metal peg.
Now I'm looking at it in this scale because this is 3 times as big as the actual figure. It's a peg, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I don't know what I'm painting, but I'm painting it anyway. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was kind of a Norman helmet because it looks a bit like a Norman helmet, apart from the fact it's bright red and it's on a garden gnome. But
I did
and cone shaped.
Cheese as well.
It's a peg. You're absolutely right. I'll go do that. That makes it even better. So repainting needs to be done. The Kaiser in the middle.
That gnome is now called Peggy.
That's Peggy the gnome. Peggy the Swiss gnome. The Kaiser is throwing beer steins, and I did a sort of pseudo effect of making them look like they've got that enamelled thing around them that German beer steins do, which I'm actually quite chuffed with. And he's got quite
does actually look quite nice, though.
It looks all right, actually. And when it's a smaller scale, it's not too bad. And then kind of weird Russian gnome as well, with a big white beard on that one.
And a big sword.
And a big old sword. So I got a Russian, a German, and a new Swiss who needs his peg repainted. Some pretty meh generals for a Greek army from Captain Games, picked them up in there. A nice light artillery piece with which is okay from
I particularly like the shield to protect the ammo.
Yeah, the shield protects the box there of ammo. So when the guy lights the gun, there's a guy with a big shield who stops that going into the powder keg in there. And then I've got these 2 bases of light horse, which are not quite finished. I need to do this chap's moustache that have been hanging around. And I think these might be footsore, possibly, or artisan, maybe. No, maybe they're artisan. And I got them because they were
look
nice
like
figures.
artisan.
Yeah, they're really nice figures, but the horses are proper little ponies. So I was thinking I could base them 3 and use them as more heavy, medium cavalry. But the horses are so much tinier than the gripping beast ones I've got.
They look weird compared to some of the others. So they're good for light cavalry, but then you put them up against... I noticed it when I was doing the saga stuff, that you put them up against it was like going, well, I've got a large dog and a horse.
Yeah, it literally... Yeah, it's a song about a man, a boy, a large dog and a horse. A man and a girl, a large boy and a horse. So I've got those which need finishing off, and I realised after, again, looking at these photos, I suddenly thought, I haven't glued the shields onto these, have I? So they're all kind of 3 of them have got kind of their arms out at really weird angles. So they're actually on my desk at the moment with shields being glued to them.
They're just balancing, throwing the javelin. That's all.
It's just balancing very, very weird. So it was like the maddest. Okay, I think my
eclectic.
Eclectic. I think my neighbours think I'm mad for spraying stuff in the garden anyway. I always hope they don't notice, but if they saw this complete dog's breakfast of stuff, but I think once it's done and I've finished some of these things off, I will have to make that difficult decision about what's the next meaningful project, and that I just need to have a think about. But I've got to try and get the Napoleonics up on the website as well. I've got all the pictures loaded and I'm writing the captions for that. So I think that's my kind of week of website stuff, really, to kind of try and do this time around. So it's been kind of busy, but with some very, very random stuff.
So should we suggest a random army that you've got to build up next?
Mate, if you can find an army that involves all of that stuff, good luck to you, I say.
For your next project.
Random.org.
Yeah, random.org. We could do that one. Come back to it. Yeah, maybe random.org is the answer. Right, so this week then, or over the course of the last week, Andy has been running a bit of a mini campaign with some sort of Blucher-style board game involving his Vikings and Normans, and there's been complicated stuff with people all over Europe involved in, 3 people, or possibly 4, involved in playing some of the games in your Anglo, Viking, Norman, British invasion, FA Cup semi-finals and ongoing. So Andy, do you want to update us on what's been going on in your campaign, how it's worked, how it's all played out, what the story's been so far?
Yes, thank you. The basic idea is to generate games for me to play on my table, which are anything different from just pick 2 army lists, work out the army lists, and roll terrain up. So what I thought was using the Blucher set of rules, which has got the Scharnhorst campaign system, which is 6 maps in a grid system, and you basically maneuver around on there, and it leads to a battle. The essence of that campaign system is you have what they call columns, and I think it's either 4 or 5 in the Blucher rules, but translating that into ADLG, you get a 200-point army. Each corps is a separate column, and you can have 1 dummy column, and they enter from different sides. And the way the battle works in Blucher is that there are villages and towns worth a number of points, and at the point of the battle, whoever the winner of the campaign would be the person who's got the most victory points in terrain, unless they break the enemy army. So usually the way the battles work, the person who's got less terrain conquered at the time needs to break the enemy army to win the campaign. So that creates the dynamic of the campaign. So I thought we'd try that for ADLG, and I've got 2 theatres of war, although one of them hasn't started off yet because Simon and Peter haven't given me army lists yet. But the Northern Theatre of War it's basically 1066 in England. So the Northern Theatre is the Vikings, commanded by Inaki, and the Northern Earls, an Anglo-Danish army commanded by Dave. Inaki didn't get off to a very good start because he invaded the wrong map. so
Any mistake to make?
Yeah. Didn't get any punishment for that, though. I noticed.
Well, he was heading off for New York rather than York. It's an easy mistake to make. And anyway, Eric the Navigator was tipped overboard, and Inaki pitched up on the right map. And he and Dave are now fighting a battle on my table, where I basically take a picture at the end of each phase, send an email to them, and they then tell me what they want to do. I do all the die rolling. So far, we've had 1 turn of battle. It does taken quite a while to set up and do the deployment and stuff. But if we could have done it on FaceTime or Zoom, it might have been a lot quicker, but just the timing didn't really work for that. So there's an ADLG battle going on between Dave and Inaki. And then hopefully at some stage, Simon and Peter will get to the stage of fighting a battle. And then
I think that'd be better because they're both good at computer stuff, so it might actually resolve on. Oh no, someone's shaking their head. Maybe not.
Techie guys good at computer stuff.
No. We just fix the things. We don't actually use them.
Yeah. No, I delegate to people to fix the things. Yeah.
Well, you could even meet up and play the game as long as you stay 2 meters away from each other. It doesn't bother me. But the idea would be at the end of the day, there'll be 2 winners, and then there'll be a final battle for control of England.
So it's still very too early. So when David and Inaki are giving you instructions, are they trying to give you instructions on moving individual units, or is it just I want to attack on the left, or are they giving general level direction for you, or just from setup?
Well, fortunately, we've only had 1 turn, so pretty well most people are moving as groups at the moment. So we haven't had the move this guy 2 feet to the left, turn 90 degrees, hop on your right foot, and then attack this bloke in the flank. Yeah.
I suppose it's an interesting, but you could do it with. It would be an interesting thing to say, almost give general level instructions. So like, can you send off some of them to try and outflank them and pin them frontally with the infantry, or if the instructions were like that rather than game level instructions. Well,
so actually write general orders then.
Yeah, almost sort of write general orders, a bit more, give you a bit more freedom.
Well, there has been a little bit of that in that I've received some emails or texts with certain orders, and I've implemented them as I've understood them. And I think once or twice they may have not quite accorded with what the player had in mind, but nothing major so far.
It's basically like playing doubles, but with them. But you're the dodgy doubles partner for both the actual players.
Exactly.
Right.
I think the Blucher map is really good because it's Andy's given us. You've got A, B, and C cores, which correspond to your army. So I don't know, blue because there's sort of grid, and 6 squares of it are the battlefield. So you've actually can put your armies into A, B, and C. So when they enter, if you get it right, but what I did was try and outflank Iñaki with my dummy command and give him a worry if something was coming around the back of him. So we had a little bit of campaign technology to it, which was good. That was really good. And then
also, on the blue card map, you actually get to see both sets of armies, but I didn't let the players do that. So I was just giving them random reports as to what they think they saw in the adjoining square.
Were there puns involved?
No, not really.
Oh,
really?
Oh, really? Surely, Andy, you are disappointing us.
That must have been misinformation, Andy, not doing puns.
Yeah.
But what's fun is we've ended up with my Anglo-Saxons attacking Vikings across a river, which is like Stamford Bridge, funnily enough.
That's the real deal. Fantastic.
Yeah, so funnily enough, and I am on a hiding to nothing because Iñaki's got a whole army of impetuous and 200 weapon guys, and I've got an army of spearmen.
And you're going over the river.
And I'm trying to cross a river to try and beat him. Oh, and he's got 2 fields in his deployment zone for his medium infantry to see.
Right.
So I'm going down. So
it's going to be a challenge.
It's going to be.
Dave turns up at the OK Corral, goes to his holster and finds his penknife. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, look, we'll have another update, see how the battle's panned out, and then seeing if Peter and Simon have been able to make the technology work to actually even get involved by sometime next week.
This means war.
Okay, so the next stage of this extremely long podcast is our weekly random number generated army list malarkey thing, which this time we picked the Lydians last week, which is list number 65, a kind of slightly tail end of the biblical, early end of the classical Greek, people around the Asia Minor kind of world list with some quite interesting options in it. So we've got all sorts of different lists from the 6 people. So if I start off by asking Peter to describe the list that you've got here, which if I'm looking at it, list number 65, the Lydians have got a command of 3 plains and mountains as their terrain. The generic plains, the generic mountains, pretty much the same as everything. And Peter, I see you've managed to make all 200 points, Phil, there, and you've got competent ordinary, so you've not quite used all the command value in there either. But talk us through this list with your first command.
Well, I decided to have a bit of fun with it. I looked at the allies and everything else, and I thought it was a bit more of the same, and no doubt the other guys are going to prove me wrong. But I thought I'd go for the heavy spearmen and really go in a block, but have that as almost a bit of misdirection. The spearmen, when they get there, are going to finally do stuff. But effectively, what I've got are 2, 5, 6 shooters in 2 commands, and a third command that I'd use as a flanking unit. So depending on who I'm up against and how it's set up, the 2 commands I'd have going in, if I have the option, if I win the initiative, I'll defend in the mountains because I have got a shed load of light infantry. So I can cause a lot of pain, a lot of hassle with the light javelins and the javelin men. And then in the gaps, I can have the heavy spearmen with some heavy cavalry to exploit different things. So the whole idea of this is to, if I've got the opportunity to stuff them up and lock things down, I will. So if I end up on the plains, I'm going to select as much to reduce the amount of terrain as possible to try and shepherd them into a thing. And then have the threat of the flanking command coming in with the javelin men, light cavalry, and the light chariot with the commander included to come around on the edge. So effectively, I'm going to harass them enough. If it's going to be the situation where I'm then defending and we're on a plain or something like that, I'm going to stall for time for the flank command to come in off the side and try and cause havoc from that aspect. So it's one of those where I'm going to be either forcing them to commit through gaps in the mountains, or forcing them to come forward and hit my heavy spear by using the light javelin and the javelin men falling back, slowly pepper potting and creating havoc.
Right. Looking at this, I think it does look like you've got 5, 10, 12 javelin men, and that looks like 2 more than you're allowed. But other than that,
I think you're allowed 8 javelin men in all, and
then two Thracians as well, aren't you?
Yeah, which is.
But you can make 2 of them medium spear, and it almost works, doesn't it? Possibly.
I thought I could. I thought I was right on the list.
No, we think you're cheating, but it's a great theory.
Really?
But no, so you've got
the theory was good.
But you've got 2 identical commands of 12, which is 4 spearmen, which is your anvil. Together that makes it 8 wide. You've got 2 javelin men in there, one of which has to be a medium spear, probably, we think, to give you the rough terrain. The 3 light foot who all shoot, which is quite good. That's good in rough terrain. And
so you can do the javelin men, 2 of those, and light javelin men. You can do up to 8,
which is 10, and you've got 12. But that's still easy maths. But then you've got a little cavalry force, 2 cavalry, and you've got 5 in the first command fire. Yeah, then you've got 2 cavalry and a light javelin cavalry. So you've got a little cavalry force, solid infantry, and then a decent rough terrain force twice in those 2 commands of 12. And then say that kind of faint, pretend it's not really dangerous, but it is command with a light chariot, a couple of light cavalry, and a couple more javelin men, or possibly the spearmen in the last one, just to mess around.
I'd flip out the javelin men in the last one to a couple of light cavalry javelin men, because I could do that and free up the points.
Yeah, you free up another extra point. So
you
make
might put into bowmen.
I don't want bowmen.
No, you want the light infantry to fight, don't you?
Yeah, I want. See, the idea of this.
Light infantry bow or sling.
No, I want the light infantry javelin to really mess with their light infantry, because most people turn up with a couple of bowmen and everything else, and all the light javelin are just going to swamp them. So you're right on the numbers. The javelin men on number 3, I just flip those to light cavalry javelin, and then you've got a true annoyance group of people who can come in. Either you have them on the board if it's totally wide open, or if it's closed down, you have them as that flanking group that can come in, and they can just harass and, for not many points, tie up a whole command or more just by, creating havoc.
Okay, so this is so this is really an army built on mug the other people's skirmishers, use the anvil, and then have that little kind of, you almost forget that it's their command, and then it does you some danger while you're pinning them with the rest. Cute.
Yeah, can have a bit of fun with it.
That's not, it's unusual because the focus looks like it's on the spears, but it's not. Very cute. All right, Dave, I think I've got your list up next. If I flip that up onto screen, this is your list here.
So that's fine. That's good. So I've gone for the heavy spearman armor.
They're a good troop type, aren't they? They're tough as old boots in period.
Exactly. And I think that's...
Talk us through the list, command by command. What's it do? What's in each list?
Well, I mean, the spear are just occupying space, going forward and being the attack troops.
So this is your first command is an ordinary general who just plods along, 6 spearmen with armour.
Yeah.
And a couple of javelin men. No skirmishers in that. No light foot.
I'm thinking I don't need any light foot screen because I'm armoured. Bang and crash on in there, hopefully not taking any damage. The 2 javelin men are there to probably sit behind the line. So if anybody does break and there's a space, they can just operate to occupy any breakthroughs.
Okay. And then your next command, you've got 3 elite heavy cavalry.
Yeah.
3 light cavalry javelin, which is a big old number, 2 normal heavy cavalry, and another 2 of these javelin men. Everybody's favourite troop type so far.
Yeah, well, with the expense of not having bowmen, I'll take javelin men. So the 2 javelin men sit in between the command of the spear and the cavalry, but that's a big manoeuvrable cavalry's wing, and it's all capable of evading. But I mean, that's a brilliant general, so he's going to manoeuvre them around. I think 3 light cavalry javelin is good because that's going to overwhelm anybody else's light horse.
Yep. Yeah, everybody just does 1 or 2, don't they?
In period, this works similarly to Alexandrian methodology, which is this is going to overwhelm somebody's wing of cavalry. So, you know, that's the idea of it.
Okay. And what about that last command? Do you want to talk us through that?
Well, that works very similarly to your... what I'm thinking is this works a little bit like your Galatian list, where you've got your heavy attack with the cavalry command and the armoured spear, but then you've got one... which was the dicking around command.
Dicking around command, yeah. Specialist subject, command. Yeah.
So you've got 2 light cavalry, 2 javelin men, and 2 light foot. And it can revolve, basically. You put something in... I mean, if you want to slow down one... I mean, you could actually deploy this a third of the way into the table and have it quite spread out. It's got a competent general. And it'll slow down somebody's wing. It can go around the side. There's enough troops in there that it can actually attack someone's flank. You can occupy something to the front. That's it's what I call a dicking around command. And I think you could actually slow down possibly half of an enemy's army there.
Oh, I think that's probably reasonable. That's so that's sort of doing the same thing as Peter's army, but in a legal list sort of form. No, but the spearmen you've gone for the heavy armoured spearmen with 6 instead of 8 of the normal ones, and you've concentrated them.
Peter has got 29 illegal in his list. Yeah. I mean, I did think you could make a legal list of 27, but I thought 24 is a big army.
No, I could make 29, and I'd actually save 2 points.
You would.
You can get yours legal by just turning your light foot into bow. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
just turn 2 of them. That might work. Yeah,
I think that's 6 heavy spear. I mean, in a period game, that's going to be a pretty hump. You know, I think it's a good army.
Okay, no, I like that. It does sort of the same thing as Peter's, but it concentrates the cavalry and it concentrates the foot. And I think the armoured foot are actually a bit more aggressive. You know, the 8 unarmoured foot are a bit of a block, but the armoured foot can beat stuff, or should be looking to beat stuff. So it's a slightly different mix. All right. So Tamsin, do you want to talk us through your list, how that's been put together?
I was going for 3 commands for different jobs. So brilliant CNC with sort of an large infantry command. So you got 6 heavy spear, 2 javelin men, 2 Thracian medium sword, and 2 light infantry bow.
Wow, that's chunky. Yeah.
Chunky block, which is why I gave it brilliant. So it's got the command initiatives for them. So you've got heavy infantry block and mediums that can go on the flanks, provide overlaps or into terrain. And you've got heavy cavalry block, so ordinary commander with 4 heavy cavalry and 2 light cavalry jav. So for pinning a wing, maybe getting onto a flank. And then 3rd command, ordinary commander again. And this is sort of the mobile one to get around, maybe behind, go for the camp, whatever. So you've got 2 light chariots, 2 Scythian light cav bow, 2 of the light cavalry javelin.
You get light cav bow in this list, is that fun?
Yeah.
Oh, you do. Okay, all right. I missed
Scythians.
Fine.
Scythians or
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Scythians, and also 2 heavy cavalry.
So that's a kind of outflanking command with the anvil. I think that's a very textbook way to do it. I guess you need to get the terrain right, don't you, to get a block of terrain that you can stuff with all those medium foot. Because if the terrain gets scattered, they might not have a home. But I suppose they're decent enough. If there's enough of them, it starts to get wide.
Either end of 6 heavy spear.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they're still going to be safe, reasonably safe there.
You've got command range that they can be off to one side.
Yeah.
A bit of separation. So.
Okay. All right. Fine. Interesting stuff. And
This means war.
talk us through your list.
Right, yeah, so I start off with a heavy cavalry command, 4 heavy elite cavalry. I've only got an ordinary commander because they're not going to be doing anything too clever. Then in the center, I've got heavy infantry command. I've not made the spearmen armored. I've given them a couple of cavalry units to, for support and blocking people to come around them. But essentially, I've got 7 heavy spear and a medium spear and a bit of skirmishing. And then the third command is the terrain mob. So I've gone for the 2 heavy sword, 2 medium swordsmen for a bit of variety, 2 javelin men and 2 medium spear and a bit light infantry. So
okay, that's a nice tidy medium terrain force. It looks a little bit like to me on the skirmishers in the central command. You've got 7 spearmen, but only 1 javelin skirmisher to screen them. But then there's not too much shooting in this period, so perhaps that's not. No, it depends.
Yeah.
If you're having a go at Persians or something like that, you could be in a bit of trouble there with only 1 screening light foot.
Yeah.
Would that be something you think about, or was that just adding the points in?
Probably yes. I mean, I'd probably just have to. I could give up on 1 spear and get 2 skirmishers for it.
Possibly, yeah. That might be a swap out. Okay, Simon, what was your list? What was your construction?
So my list, which is probably quite paltry compared to some of the evil designs everyone else has done. So let me just share it out. Share.
That looks like a tertio.
Yeah.
Right, he's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'd gone for was a bit more of a simplistic design of central command, heavy spear, but then a small punchy option of two javelin and 2 medium swordsmen just to get into a bit of terrain.
That's very much like Tamsin's, isn't it? It's the 6 spear flanked by a decent rough terrain force.
Yeah, because often you want to park your heavy foot against a bit of nice terrain or whatever. So dropping a couple of swordsmen and javelin just to really annoy any bow who think they can be smart seems like it'd be a great idea. And then both the winged commands are pretty much equal. Of a couple of the heavy chariot elites, a couple of the heavy cavalry elites, then 2 more just normal heavy cavalry, and then combinations of heavy light cavalry javelin, or I wanted some of the light chariots just because I think they're cute figures and I wanted to have them in the army.
So
very scientific.
Oh, that's why I put 2 in mine.
Yeah. So you've got 10 infantry in the middle, 6 heavy, 4 mediums, and then on either flank you've got 6 cavalry on one side plus 2 light horse, and 4 cavalry on the other side plus 2 light horse. So that really is pin with the middle and then overwhelm them. And you're kind of needing the terrain a bit there, but no, that's super simple. But it's kind of interesting out of period to a few people have gone with that mob people with a big block of cavalry in a period where there's just not much cavalry, and pin them in the middle. I think it does make it quite terrain dependent, but I think it is an army that you can use in that way. I think there's a debate about, do you just go more spearmen or do you use armoured? Because the armoured is quite a lot of extra points, isn't it? And I think, so Simon, Tamsin, Andy, in fact, Peter, did you go for, all 4 of you went for unarmoured, I think?
I went for unarmoured. They all went for armoured. I went to unarmoured.
Yeah, because the armour adds an extra 2 points per element. Yeah. So it can be 2 extra elements almost.
I basically got extra spearmen, so I've got 8 spearmen. So for mine, it's just that extra block on it.
Yep. No, I think that's it. No, so I think this was mine then, actually. Looking at this was just trying to be overly clever.
Yours is the one with the odd heavy spearmen.
Yeah, mine's the
out with the cavalry.
Thing. So I think what I was trying to do was something very similar to that, of have the central command. I went 6 armoured spearmen. That, I think, like Dave, you can actually fight and win with that. And then a couple of javelin men with it to support the flanks, or possibly the anti-elephant troops, or pop through and fill gaps. But that's actually something quite aggressive. And then I'd stuck 3 skirmishing light foot with it. I know the armour does take away a lot of the enemy shooting, but if you can intimidate other people's skirmishers, or you can operate with the javelin men in difficult terrain, your light infantry javelin as well, it bulks it up. And I think mine's probably the smallest army here at 23, but it's a bit more kind of get in their face and fight them with the armored spearmen. And then I was trying to do, you know, a bit of that cavalry thing on both flanks. So my first commander's got 4 heavy cavalry in it, half elite. The textbook 1 light cavalry javelin. And then I think I was trying to fit in 2 spearmen, but the armor sort of tipped the balance. I've got, you know, this is kind of a list that's not quite been finished working through, but 1 spearman armor and a brilliant commander. The theory being that in this period, having an armored heavy spearman, if you can force them up there along with your cavalry, that gives a real extra little island, which it makes it very difficult for anybody else's cavalry to suddenly beat yours if you've got a heavy spearman armor in the mix. So I think ideally I would have wanted 2, and with a bit more working it, you know, they're expensive troops at 10 points each, but I might have been able to scrape it by messing around with some of the other things. But it was just get a little bastion island up there with the heavy spearman armor. And then the third general, which was sort of competent, another heavy cavalry, 3 heavy cavalry and a light horse this time, and then a couple of more Thracian javelinmen to you know, I think that's sort of a dicky about command with punch, possibly. But I may, you know, in the evolution of this list with a bit more time, that may have become a bit more dicky about, really. It might have dropped 1 heavy cavalry and given me 2 spearmen in the first one. But if I'd added 2 spearmen in the first one, that would make that something that could join up with the spearmen in the middle and be 8 wide, or a block of 2 heavy spearmen on the flank with 4 cavalry is giving you a sort of 6 wide thing that can deal with, you know, it can even have a go at the elephants, or it can deal with something else and really make your cavalry different and better than just going into a cavalry lottery.
I'm just surprised no one took an ally.
Well, but the allies not really kind of doing too much in this one.
What's the ally add to your army?
I don't think he adds much, really.
Asiatic Greeks, list 60, classical Greek.
Yeah, you could do a bit of variation on the some types of troops, but not
Possibly.
massively.
No, I think it's much for muchness. Okay. Well, look, Simon, you're king of IT. What do we? Oh, actually, should we look at? We can actually do this now. What are we doing? Random. Is it random.org we're looking at?
Yeah. It makes me think when we're back actually playing, we'll have to actually have a one-dayer where we just have a single list and everyone's just got one list. As in, we just choose one army list, and everyone chooses, picks an army from that one list, and then comes fight with it.
That would.
Yeah, I must admit, I put the list together. I thought it's actually an army I wouldn't mind using. It's not what I'd looked at before, but I thought, yeah, this is quite a decent army.
No, I think Hubert's beaten me with it at campaign at one point, but I didn't drag that one up. So, all right, we're on random.org. We're going to go for next week then, and we're going to press the button, and here we go. Press the again button, and the magic number is 55. Quick flick through. 55. That's a goodie, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Can't argue with Carthaginians.
Carthaginians.
Proper Carthaginian. Fine.
Dave is drooling already.
Next week, folks, it's Hannibal. Time for Hannibal next week.
Elefantes.
Right, well, we're into the tail end of this. We've gone on for quite some time. Lucky you all. And to wrap up, it is time for the legendary music for Andy's quiz.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Oh, back in the world of deep house techno. Andy, it's over to you. This is your special section. And first of all, we want to know the answers from was it a best of British theme quiz?
That's right, week? Yes. Last week.
Absolutely. See, I do pay attention.
Oh, nice that somebody does.
Yeah.
But the questions last week were all about British generals. The first one was, of whom did his monarch say, mad is he? Then I hope he will bite some of my other generals. And I gave you the choice of Sir Walter Raleigh, Prince Rupert of the Rhine, or James Wolfe. So somebody have a go at that.
Wolf's got a bite thing, isn't it? Yeah, we're going Wolf.
Right.
That ties into your dog theme from the week before.
Quite by chance, yes, right. Okay, the second question was, who said in a report, the village of Fuentes de Onoro, having been the field of battle, has not been much improved by the circumstance? And the answer was either Sir John Churchill, Duke of Marlborough, Duke of Wellington, or Field Marshal Montgomery.
Wellington.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah, I was going to say Wellington. I had a nagging doubt it might be Marlborough. But...
Well, I was hoping so. But I mean, if you're familiar with Napoleonics, you've probably heard of Fuentes.
I know that.
Yeah.
He won there.
And the third one is, which general, after capturing the province of Sind, sent the War Office a one-word telegram saying "Peccavi," that's the Latin for "I have sinned"? Was that Sir Harry Smith, Sir Henry Havelock, or Sir Charles Napier?
Napier,
I'm saying.
Correct. Yeah, it was Napier.
Excellent. All right. So that's this week's answers.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Right, now this week's questions. Right, having been inspired by the sight of your Napoleon figure.
Right.
And also bearing in mind Colonel Tom Moore, who, as we all know, reached the age of 100 and raised 30 million quid to support the NHS by walking around his garden. I thought I'd match the two concepts together for this week's quiz. Now, Colonel Moore was once a contestant on the TV show Blankety Blank.
Really?
Yeah, they showed a bit of it that weekend, right?
Wowee, okay.
And the real Napoleon was famous for a number of memorable quotes. So here's a mashup of these two ideas, which I've called Gnome Truths, based on quotes by Napoleon. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blanks.
Right, so first one was, in politics, blank is not a handicap.
In politics, blank is not a handicap.
Oh wow, you could go to town on that statement.
You could go to town on that one. Yeah, we could get into a lot of trouble with that one. Yep.
Game, right? The second one is, blank is a sleeping giant. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will move the world. The third is, you don't reason with intellectuals, you blank them.
Okay. That just doesn't mean you just blank them. That's not an internet sort of thing, is it?
No.
That's when they start saying fake news, don't they?
Yeah, it's not going to be unfriend or something like that, is it? It's going to be okay. Well, thank you.
He was a quite clever bloke, so you never know.
You never know. All right. Well, thank you, Andy, and we will be back next week with the answers on that one.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Okay, then. Well, we're getting to the end of an epic podcast here. I think as we, as time cracks on, we will just wrap up very, very swiftly by talking about what we are going to be painting and looking at and doing gaming wise or painting wise over what touch wood could be towards the tail end of lockdown. There's starting to be sniffs that this thing might be over, but we may end up still carrying on doing these conversations. We never know. So Simon, you're doing some screen sharing already to suggest 10 mil Napoleonics, I believe. What's your thinking? What are you going to try be avoiding buying this week?
Yeah. It wasn't so much meat. I thought, if only we know someone who'd bought a Napoleonic army from Pendragon and may need some expansions.
Yeah.
Especially when he's having to paint dodgy stuff off to the side, and
No, I must admit, I have seen this. It's the Pendragon's Kickstarter for Peninsular War for British, Spanish, Portuguese, and Brunswick, and I think they've already raised something like $5,000 against this and hit all their targets straight away, which is fantastic. I think my week this week is going to be avoiding doing this, definitely. But I think the main thing I've got to do is get the photos of all the Napoleonic stuff I've done up online. It's not painting really, but I've got the table set up now to actually push them around and start to try and play a bit of Battle Empire. So I do want to have a go at that. And then I've just got a few more eclectic odds and sods to finish. and then I've just got to decide what the next mini painting project is. And I don't think it's going to be
You're
full
truly
army.
in denial, aren't you?
I know.
You're truly in
It's
denial.
not-
We know you're going to be logging onto there.
Yeah, Pendragon,
as soon as
just
this
dribbling
finishes,
a bit, just dribbling
and
a
buying
bit.
some more.
I know, but I think I'm going to do a kind of, couple of units or few bags sort of style project. I'm not going to wade into one of the 3-4 armies I've got at the moment. Not to buy, I might end up buying them. I can see that, but I've got some stuff which needs painting, which isn't armies. And having just finished all these Napoleonics and all the Assyrians, which I got online over the last few weeks and tidied up this eclectic stuff. I think a few units, it might be 15 mil Swiss, might be 15 mil ancient Germans, possibly. I've got some Blue Moon figures for both, which will be quite nice, but I think that's probably on the list for me. So Simon, other than teasing me with trying to flirt at me with offers of buying stuff from Pendragon, what have you got on the list this week? Are you going to be back to more painting after done your undercoating this week?
Yeah, so the aim is to finish the chariots and get the Chinese out of the way, and then it's to start looking probably at the 7 Years' War figures that arrived late last week and they are sitting in a box going, "Paint me, paint me."
Yeah. So 7 years. What is there a base color that you're going to do that?
Yeah, I'm going to base coat them white because I'm going to paint them up in a combination of either Austrians from my existing Austrian army, or I'm going to paint some Swedish ones because they're not going to have Swedish heavy metal banners running around.
Okay. 7 Years' War for you. So Dave, you're I think you've already told us it's samurai, and then you might get started with Ottomans if you can't quite get there.
Whilst we've been sat here tonight doing this podcast, I think I've just about completed 2 bases of samurai bowmen. So they should be finished off in the morning. So yeah, the Ottomans are probably, I'm waiting for the back banners from Fighting 15s, they should come up. But then I've been reaching around, I've still got some camels. From very nice camels from Forged in Battle, which I bought in their Kickstarter. So I've still got a stack of them.
What range are they from? Are they Bedouin or
in Battle? So they're Arabs from their
it's the dark,
nice.
Dark Ages ones. They're one-piece castings of bowmen. So
it's just kind of generic Araby camels to go with.
I've got some Palmyran camel guards.
To pad out your Palmyran. You got the cataphract camels, is that?
No. They're camel caravan guards.
Caravan guards.
So they're basically sort of they've got like masks on and things. But once these camels were painted, I'll have 8 bases. So 8 bases of camel bow, 4 camel light bow, and 8 bases of spear. So impetuous camels. So it gives you any combination of
all those mad camel armies. All right. Okay.
They're a lot of fun doing the mad camel armies.
Getting some of those. I wouldn't mind getting the Oman States army together, or one of the African armies.
Well, we'll have to just pray that its number comes up, and then we can all give you some cobbled together list for it.
How the hell we do that?
Yeah, indeed. And then Tamsin, you've got riders for your horses then.
Yeah, got riders to do, so 36 of them, and got 4 foot command figures as well. So I'll probably get those painted. Then whether I'm able to finish the basing, get the basing done, depends on whether I'm able to get any more frame sealant.
Yep.
But so after that, I think I might move on to painting with Judge Dredd miniatures.
Okay, that'll be an interesting thing. That'll be quite different. Small limited run. All right. So by this time next week, we could be talking about You Are the Law. That could be it. Okay. And then Peter, is it just still the Austrian factory forever?
It's the Austrian factory for now, but hopefully, basically by the weekend, it's going to be the basing factory. I've got best part of an Austrian army to base, so it's going to be sit outside, try and just work our way through it, because I find it best when I'm doing basing just to do it as a massive production line, because the stuff's bound to go everywhere anyway. And just doing a couple of bases at a time is just a pain, because I find I spend most of the time cleaning up afterwards. So I'm just going to end up probably the weekend basing it all. And then if I have some time after doing all that, because it is a long weekend next weekend.
Yeah, VE Day, bank holiday, yes.
Yeah, I might do something radically different, like a couple of goblins or something just totally different that's not Napoleonic. Not even gnomes, something just gnomes. Totally different.
That does remind me, my most important project this week is to repaint a gnome's nose and repaint a metal
nose clip.
Nose clip and put a proper peg on it. Right, yeah, that's my big project. Right. So Andy, finish us up. Tell us what you're painting this week and what's on the list.
Well, it's finish the huscarls and then start with the third, unless I get too bored with that. But that's basically...
Let's just tough it out. And you're actually playing a game as well. You're the one playing a game. Good.
Well, I'm sort of umpiring, watching.
Umpiring, playing and watching all at the same time. Good.
Absolutely.
Look, thank you, folks. That's another epic that we've got through. I will get this one out as soon as we can. And we'll have something for everybody for the long weekend over that. And then we will reconvene here on Monday next week for our recording session and get this online. And I think we're now pretty much at all of these podcasts have got well over 100 people having downloaded it and listened to them so far, which we're starting to, bizarrely, some of them appear to be coming back from week to week, which is miraculous as well. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we're keeping you entertained while you're painting, while you're queuing for food, while you're sat inside, while you're going for a walk, while you're grouting the bathroom, all those exciting things that we're keeping.
Or while you're painting figures.
Or while you're painting figures as well. So on that bombshell, we will we'll leave you all. So stay safe out there. Enjoy VE Day weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay, that's the end, and thank you for listening all the way to the end of that podcast. There's one of these things coming out every week. You can find them on Podbean. You can also search for them on iTunes, or you can download them from the Madaxeman.com website, where you'll also see some of the pictures of some of the eclectic things which have been painted this week. And also you'll find the list which we discussed in the wiki in the ADLG section of the Madaxeman website. Now, for those of you who managed to last this long and listen all the way to the end credits, we've got a special bonus extra few minutes of content for you, in which Andy attempts to describe the list I'd put together for the Lydians, and assuming that it's his, and so desperately tries to remember why he put together a list he can't even remember putting together. This was a bit of an error when we were reading it out. It makes a lot more sense if you understand that it was basically my fault rather than Andy's. So a few extra minutes content, and we'll see you next week on the podcast.
This means war.
So you've got your first commander's got a brilliant commander-in-chief, and this is 2 ordinary heavy cavalry, 2 elite heavy cavalry, the textbook 1 light cavalry, so you've got a 4+1, and then you've got a single armoured spearman in there, which is an unusual way of doing things. So
I don't think it was intended to be in there. It's obviously a mistake, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
There's no theory. There's no theory on that one then. It doesn't quite work.
Theory is I got the list wrong.
Oh, right. What was he supposed to be? Was he supposed to be another cavalry?
Probably. I can't remember now. But
Okay. All right. So you got a cavalry command. So that was supposed to be a cavalry command then?
Yeah, that's right. It's a sort of hammer, really.
Pretty textbook.
Yeah. Then ordinary heavy spear command, infantry command. Now, what I thought with that one was the...
Here's a question for you. Sorry to interrupt, but how can heavy cavalry in this period be a hammer? Because they don't have impact, and most of the stuff they're going up against is heavy spear.
Well, the idea is to go around the heavy spear. the
just go around it.
The idea is to hopefully beat up an enemy cavalry command and then threaten someone's flank or their camp.
Yeah, I think it's quite a solid, elite heavy cavalry in period are pretty good when people have just got mediums or ordinary cavalry possibly, as long as you can avoid
go forward and pin with the heavy cavalry some spearmen to the front. Whatever you've got can slip down the side. Even if you get the light cavalry round the back, they charged in the back and you charge from the front, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, it's much better to charge them with a battle troop rather than a light troop, because then you can cause a disruption on them.
And then you've got essentially the same command as your number 3 command. You've got 3 heavy cavalry in the number 3 command. You've got the light cavalry, but instead of the spearmen who shouldn't be there, you've got a couple of javelin men.
Something's gone seriously wrong with the descriptions here, because what it should be, and you'll have to chuck this list out because it's clearly wrong, is there should be one command of essentially medium troops, terrain troops, and there should be one of heavy infantry and one of cavalry.
Right.
So,
okay, so you've gone for the commands that do a job, really. One takes terrain, one sits in the open, one runs around a flank.
Yeah,
that's the theory.
What there should be in the heavy infantry command is one medium spear. The idea of that being that it can act as overlaps and run around the back of people and be more maneuverable than the heavy spear.
Yeah, to pick up the overlaps. Okay, yeah. All right. Fine.
I think I tried to give them the authentic descriptions, as in the army.
Okay, and then it's thrown up different troop types. Fine.
Yeah.
All right.
This means war.